is Freethought Forum, programmed by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Ralph Eisen.
And I am Jonas Holden. And we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone. Right here in East Tennessee,
you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and people curious about living in a life free of supernatural beliefs. Today's topic is Creationism's threat to scientific literacy.
This is a call-in show. While we go over a few announcements, we invite you to start calling in now at the number on the screen. Get a pen and paper, and we will give you our email address later in the show.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville, a fun meetup, often at a bar or eatery. Sometimes we even do karaoke. Tonight's meetup at Barley's for a happy hour tonight, after the show for food, drink, and conversation. And look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table. As Matt Dillahanty at Atheist Experience says, everyone is welcome to our happy hour for food, drink, and conversation. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't.
Okay, well, the Rationalists of East Tennessee has several monthly activities. The first and third Sunday mornings are usually reserved for lectures with lively roundtable discussion. Sunday, October 2nd, we will discuss money and interest groups in American politics. Book Club on Sunday, October 9th will feature Stephen Hawking and Leonard Mladinov's The Grand Design. On our third Sunday, we're going to have a presentation on what would you have done? How could ordinary Germans have committed the Holocaust? Controlled experiments like the Stanford Prison Experiment and the Milgram Experiment on Obedience provide us insight on how the mind reacts to authority figures. The fourth Sunday is a reflections meeting gathering, a potluck afternoon lunch at a member's house.
Visit our website for additional details, including times and locations.
Okay, well, Jonas, we've got to look at a few things that were in the news lately here. First of all, we continue our End of the World watch.
We note that there are just now 31 days of tribulations left.
If all goes as people at the Family Radio claim, then we'll only get to say that 4 more times.
Oh, I'm feeling no tribulation here, Ralph.
Well, there are a couple of news items that would be of interest to Freethought Forum viewers that didn't receive a lot of attention in the press.
We usually try to steer away from politics in this broadcast, but something's happened at last week's debate among the seekers of the Republican presidential nomination that reveals a deep challenge in the collective ethics of the country. At one point in the debate, which was jointly sponsored by the Tea Party Express and CNN, Wolf Blitzer asked a pointed question. How should society respond if a healthy 30-year-old man who decides against buying health insurance suddenly goes into a coma and requires intensive care for 6 months? Someone in the mostly quiet audience yelled, "Let him die!" and was roundly applauded.
Now, you have to realize these are candidates running for the same Republican Party which less than 10 years ago howled that a brain-dead woman should be kept alive at all costs. They fought tooth and nail to keep Terry Schiavo plugged into a life support system when it was clear to all attending medical experts that any brain function was only at a primitive level of response. Now those same people seem to be clamoring to let any comatose person die if he hasn't paid up front for treatment in advance. It appears that once they start thinking about their pocketbooks, the sanctity of life takes a back seat.
Locally, a letter written to the Knoxville News Sentinel last Wednesday commented on a case of blatant discrimination that the paper didn't deem worthy of reporting.
Yeah, the Center for Inquiry is a Freethought organization that's been putting up billboards around the country with the message, you don't need God to hope, to care, to love, to live.
This seems like a pretty positive message, but the EMC Outdoor Advertising Company refused to sell them space with the excuse that it might offend too many people.
Now, Jonas, I ask you, who could be offended by such a message?
Well, it's obviously the Christian right that can't stand the idea that anyone could live a fulfilling life without crediting Jehovah for it.
Well, okay. I don't like that, but we can't do much about it right now. But there was some humor in the news. September 19th, yesterday, was designated as International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Now, who would want to go around talking like a pirate all day?
Oh, Faithless was telling me about an emergent religion called Pastafarianism, whose adherents tend to observe the practice.
Oh, yeah? These are the same guys who have a god called the Flying Spaghetti Monster? So they're going mainstream with an international holiday?
Well, Ralph, they assert that their church has over 10 million members. They credit the Flying Spaghetti Monster with creating life in the universe and everything else.
Now, Jonas, I just realized the words Flying Spaghetti Monster have 24 characters, and 24 is 42 backwards. Now, everyone knows that 42 is the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. Do you think there's something to it?
Oh, I don't know. But I do know that the campus crusade for the Flying Spaghetti Monster can be seen in action making converts in universities around the nation.
Okay, well, that's a lot of fun. But returning to today's topic, creationism's threat to scientific literacy.
We're taking calls now at the number on the screen. There's a 7-second delay in the broadcast, so once you call, please mute your television and listen to us over the phone, or we will all be confused.
We thought we would set the stage for today's topic on the Galapagos Islands, those islands that were famous for the discoveries made there by Charles Darwin.
Here, nature has worked many experiments in species generation. For example, the only extant marine iguanas. The overwhelming evidence of evolution is the changing kinds of fossils in the rocks whose strata are the story of an immensely long time. The overwhelming evidence of evolution is the relationship of similarities between living and fossil creatures, which show a pattern of emergence, divergence, and disappearance. The overwhelming evidence of evolution is the common chemistry of the metabolism and genetic inheritance in fungi, the animal, the plant, and the bacterial kingdoms of life.
Well, you know, in 2005, members of the Kansas School Board were trying to incorporate a cleaned-up version of religious creationism into the classroom. This version is called intelligent design to mask the stigma associated with the blatant anti-scientific creationist movement. ID supporters try to convince the public of the unsupported assertion that many biologists doubt the process of evolution. This simply isn't so.
What is the crux of the intelligent design movement? It is the assertion propounded by biochemist Michael Behe that some cellular structures and biological processes cannot function if they are lacking any of one of several indispensable proteins, such as the bacterial flagellum or the blood clotting sequence. Therefore, there are no gradual evolutionary pathways to their existence, so they must have been created all at once by an intelligent entity, so they say.
Well, these arguments of Behe have all been discredited and shown to be scientifically unsustainable. But the creationists are still trying to convince the public that there's a controversy that should be taught in science classes, even though the courts have consistently ruled that creationism isn't science. In the last session of the Tennessee legislature, Representative Bill Dunn of Knoxville introduced a bill that would allow creationism to be taught in science classes, with the goal of undermining the students' confidence in evolutionary science, although he denies that's the purpose, of course. The bill easily passed the House, but this looks like a court challenge just waiting to happen. It's incredible that 85 years after the Scopes trial, so many in Tennessee are still fearful of science and just want to remain willfully ignorant of it. Huh? What's that sound?
I think it's some sort of collision warning.
Collision warning?
Hi there, prepare to be boarded. Surrender smartly to the first crew of the FPBSS.
and we will be merciful.
Reach for the sky.
What's going on here? What's going on here?
We're doing a Freethought forum here. You guys can't just barge in like this. We're discussing intelligent design.
Now, that's not yapping. We are here to see to it that you teach our theory of intelligent design.
Arr!
Okay, can we put our arms down, have a seat? There, make your case.
First, we march you to the good ship FFBPSS.
FPBSS? What is that?
You tell him, Private Parvatigan.
Aye, aye, Captain. 'Tis the fallen pedunculated barnacle of the Sargasso Sea, the finest pirate ship in the whole Pacific.
Oh, is it okay if we just call it the FPBSS?
Works for me. All right, march. In place. All right, be at ease then. Pirate and training Partigan, bring these lubbers some grog and set the table.
Aye, Captain. You be too good to these landlubbers.
We Pastafarians were a little-known band until 2005. That be the year that Bobby Henderson wrote his concerned letter to the Kansas School Board.
Okay, I'll bite. What letter?
The open letter to the Kansas School Board. Here, I'll read it. I am writing you with much concern after having read your hearing to decide whether the alternative theory of intelligent design should be taught along with the theory of evolution. I think we can all agree that it is important for students to hear multiple viewpoints so they can choose for themselves the theory that makes the most sense to them. I am concerned, however, that students will only hear one theory of intelligent design.
Do you mean there's more than one theory of intelligent design?
I'm getting to it.
Let us remember that there are multiple theories of intelligent design, and I and many others around the world are of the strong belief that the universe was created by the flying spaghetti monster. It was he who created all that we see and all that we feel. We feel strongly that the overwhelming scientific evidence pointing toward evolutionary processes is nothing but a coincidence put in place by him.
Him? This flying spaghetti monster's a him?
Aye, the one and true pasta deity. Where were I? Yeah. It is for this reason that I'm writing you today to formally request that this alternative theory be taught in your schools, along with the other two theories. In fact, I will go so far as to say that if you do not teach this theory and do not agree to do so, we will be forced to proceed with legal action. I'm sure you see where we are coming from. If the intelligent design theory is not faith-based, but rather scientific theory, as is claimed, then you must also allow our theory to be taught. It is also based on science and not faith.
He thinks you have been sipping the grog too much.
Maybe. Pirate and training, Parnigan, I'd be too tired to read. Take over.
Aye, aye, Captain. Some find it hard to believe, so it may be helpful to tell you a little more about our beliefs. We have evidence that a flying spaghetti monster created the universe. None of us, of course, were around to see it, but we have written accounts of it. We have several lengthy volumes explaining the details of his power. Also, you may be surprised to hear that there are over 10 million of us, and growing. We tend to be very secretive, as many people claim our beliefs are not substantiated by observable evidence. What these people don't understand is that he built the world to make us think that Earth is older than it actually is. For example, a scientist may perform carbon dating process on an artifact. He finds that approximately 75% of the carbon-14 is decayed by electron emission to nitrogen-14, and infers that this artifact is approximately 10,000 years old, as the half-life of carbon-14 appears to be 5,730 years. But what our scientist doesn't realize is that every time he makes a measurement, every time the flying spaghetti monster is there changing his results with his noodly appendage. We have numerous texts that describe in detail how this is possible and the reasons why he does this. He is, of course, invisible and can pass through normal matter with ease.
Oh, balderdash. Invisible pass-through matter? I think it's more likely you're passing some sort of gas here.
Captain, I'll run him through.
With a mop?
It's a duster.
Duster?
It ain't a pretty sight to be run through with a duster. Keep going.
All right. Sorry about the duster comment. Go ahead.
I'll take over pirate and training part of them again.
Arr.
I'm sure you now I'm not doing Bobby's voice right. I'm sure you now realize how important it is that your students are taught with us that this alternative theory is true. It is absolutely imperative that they realize that observable evidence is at the discretion of a flying spaghetti monster. Furthermore, it is disrespectful to teach our beliefs without wearing his chosen outfit, which of course is full pirate regalia. I cannot stress the importance of this enough, and unfortunately cannot describe in detail why this must be done, as I fear this letter is already becoming too long. The concise explanation is that he becomes angry if we don't.
Oh, so that would explain your presence here, dressed as you are.
You're catching on. Pirate and training ptarmigan, reveal to these scientists about the real reason for global warming.
Arr. I resume from the sacred letter. You may be interested to know that global warming, earthquakes, hurricanes, and other natural disasters are a direct effect of shrinking numbers of pirates since the 1800s. For your interest, I have included a graph of the approximate number of pirates versus the average global temperature over the past 200 years. As you can see, there is a statistically significant inverse relationship between pirates and global temperature.
Oh, but that's ridiculous. Everybody knows that mere correlation doesn't imply causality.
Captain, let me run through.
Belay that. Put your weapon down. I'll finish the letter. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for taking time to hear our views and beliefs, says Bobby. I hope that I was able to convey the importance of teaching our theory to your students. We will, of course, be able to train the teachers in this alternative theory. I am eagerly awaiting your response and hope dearly that no legal action will need to be taken. I think we can all look forward to the time when these three theories are given equal time in our science classrooms across the country and eventually the world. 1/3 time for intelligent design, 1/3 time for flying spaghetti monster, Pastafarianism, and 1/3 time for the logical conjecture based on overwhelming observable evidence. Sincerely yours, Bobby Henderson, concerned citizen. Postscript. I have included an artistic drawing of him creating a mountain, trees, and a midget. Remember, these are all his creatures. It's over there.
Okay, viewers. Do any of you have questions for our guests at this these Pastafarians here? By the way, what do you call yourselves?
I be Captain Larry Longtooth of the good ship, the fallen pedunculated barnacle of the Sargasso Sea.
Aye, and I be pirate in training, John Ptarmigan, captain boy on a good pirate ship, fallen pedunculated barnacle of the Sargasso Sea.
That's sure a nutty name for a ship, but anyhow, how did you become a Pastafarian?
Well, I were touched by his noodly appendage.
Oh, where?
Well, I ain't gonna show you.
No. Where were you when this happened?
Oh, 'twas aft, on the aft deck.
What were you doing there?
Well, they don't call it the poop deck for nothing.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to suppress that image. Boy. So did the flying spaghetti monster appear to you when you were touched?
No, he be immaterial.
What do you like most about being a Pastafarian?
Well, I get to say "arr" in this life,
Arr.
and I look toward to a beer volcano in the next.
And what do you like most about being a Pastafarian?
The flying spaghetti monster be the tastiest carbohydrate deity, with a beauty rich marinara, or even Alfredo sauce and the meatballs. Aye, the flying spaghetti monster is much better than any cracker deity with grape juice.
And so, how did you come to be a Pastafarian pirate?
Well, you know, me dad was a Pastafarian pirate. His dad was a Pastafarian pirate. I come by it natural. Mother was a pacifist. And could not spell and found him in the single section of the one ads.
Was she disappointed?
Nah, he went over saying, "Well, I've sailed the 7 seas, and you're the sleekest schooner I've ever sighted."
Oh, you pirates have a way with words. What does ptarmigan mean?
Ptarmigan? Well, it's an Arctic bird with downy legs and downy feet. It makes a soft mewing sound.
Oh, that will scare the bejesus out of the other pirates on the sea.
You belies, rat, I'll run you through.
Alas, stay blade. Lubber, apologize to pirate and training ptarmigan.
Sorry about that, Ptarmigan. Parent and training. Were you touched too, sir?
Well, yes, by his noodly appendage. It was right down back here.
Okay, no need to be that specific. This is a family show here. We've got. Did you see this noodly appendage?
Of course not. He's immaterial, we told you.
Ah, you mean just like Russell's teapot, huh?
Oh, do we need to go into this, Ralph?
I don't know. We might just bring it up for the audience. You know, Bertrand Russell was a great philosopher. He said that if there were a teapot orbiting between Mars and the Earth in an elliptical orbit around the Sun, it'd be too small to be seen by any telescope. So he could just say it was there and you couldn't disprove him. That's the same way with any of these invisible supernatural
not like that at all.
beings.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, boy. It's just like the immaterial pink unicorn.
Huh?
You can't see me, but I'm pink. You know I'm more ethereal than spaghetti and meatballs. I am the manifestation of love and kindness, and would never hurt anyone with aggression. My horn is defensive only. You cannot prove that I do not exist. So why not believe?
Oh.
Why not believe?
What was that?
Believe.
What was what?
Did you hear something?
No. I deny that.
Me neither.
Ours is the one true immaterial and carbohydrate deity. It is much more deity-like to be immaterial in carbohydrate than to be immaterial in pink. Pink's just a color.
But it seemed to be coming from no point in particular. It was immaterial.
Oh. Well, was immaterial in pink? Is that what you're saying? God, I'd be a fool to argue with that. But you pirates have a moral code.
Well, yes, we received from the flying spaghetti monster himself by Captain Mosley. Right here is his book. The Gospel of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
How long ago was that written? Gosh.
The sacred, don't know. The sacred book contains 8 I'd really rather you didn't adherence to which enables Pastafarians to ascend to heaven. Heaven includes a stripper factory and a beer volcano.
Well, now
A
there's
beer volcano.
yeah, there's a religion that has some merit. Okay.
Can I continue now? According to the gospel, Moses the pirate, Captain Pirate, received 10 stone tablets with advice from the flying spaghetti monsters. Of these 10 original I'd rather you didn't, 2 were dropped on the way down from Mount Salsa. As a result, this event partly accounts for Pastafarians' flimsy moral standards. The really rather you didn't address a broad array of behavior from sexual conduct to nutrition.
Can you share any of these with us?
Pirate and Training Ptarmigan, I need reading some help here. Start us out.
The 8, I'd really rather you didn't. Number 1, I'd really rather you didn't act like a sanctimonious, holier-than-thou attitude when describing my noodly goodness. If some people don't believe in me, that's okay, really. I'm not that vain. Besides, this isn't about them, so don't change the subject.
Well, that's kind of different from the other guy who says he's going to boil you in oil if you don't believe.
Forever.
Oh,
Forever.
but you know, I've wondered why these guys need to be worshipped in any event.
Yeah. I mean, they have inferiority complexes or something of the sort.
So it would seem.
Yeah. Okay, go on. What's your next? I'd rather you didn't.
Well, 2, I'd really rather you didn't use my existence as a mean to oppress, subjugate, punish, eviscerate, and be mean to others. I don't require sacrifices, and purity is for drinking water, not for people.
Well, that's sure different from others who have burned people at the stake in the names of their deity.
Yeah, I don't think that'd go over very well in this world.
Well, I mean, I kind of like the tenets of your religion here.
Fire's bad on the boat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ptarmigan?
Number 3, I'd really rather you didn't judge people for the way they look or how they dress or the way they walk or, well, let's play nice, okay? Oh, and get this into your thick heads. Woman equals person. Man equals person. Sam equals Sam. One is not the better than the other. Unless we're talking about fashion, I'm sorry. But I gave that to women and some guys who know the difference between teal and fuchsia.
Well, that's sure different from Jehovah's crowd, who think guys are superior to women and almost anyone else that comes along. I mean, Catholic Church doesn't let women be priests, so.
And they don't dress them in fuchsia and teal either.
Just fuchsia and teal, maybe they would. That might be a little brighter mass there.
Number 4. I'd really rather you didn't indulge in contact that offends yourself or your willing consenting partner of legal age and mental maturity. As for anyone who might object, I think that the expression is to go bleep yourself, unless they find that offensive, in which case they can turn the TV off for once and go for a walk for a change.
I can't disagree with that.
Hear, hear.
In there.
Okay.
Number 5. I'd really rather you didn't challenge the bigoted, misogynistic, hateful ideas of others on an empty stomach. Eat. Then go after the bitches.
No.
I'll drink to that.
6. I'd really rather you didn't build multi-million-dollar synagogues, churches, temples, mosques, shrines to my noodly goodness, when the money could be better spent. Take your pick. Ending poverty, curing diseases, living in peace, loving with compassion, and lowering the cost of cable. I might be a complex carbohydrate omniscient being, but I enjoy the simple things of life. I know I ought to I ought to know I am the creator.
But then where would we go to indulge in this ritual cannibalism and sample the spaghetti and sauce that gives us the God's power?
Spaghetti and sauce.
What's going to happen to the crystal manufacturers if there's no crystal cathedrals being built?
Boy, there you go.
You're putting people out of work
that's
here
a dollar.
in this economy.
Ptarmigan.
And number 7. I'd really rather you didn't go around telling people I talked to you. You're not that interesting. Get over yourself. And I told you to love your fellow man. Can't you take a hint?
But if he doesn't talk to me, how can I tell others what he's thinking? He has to have somebody to talk to. I mean, you have to have somebody equivalent to Pat Robertson or an Oral Roberts that the guy can communicate with and tell everybody else what to do.
And someone to listen to when you're smoking the weed.
Yeah, that's good.
But you can hear your own voice, and that's your conscience. That's important. You can pretend that it's a flying spaghetti monster if you want. And the 8th, I'd really rather you didn't. Or I really rather that you didn't do unto others as you would have them do unto you if you are into stuff like lots of leather lubricant in Las Vegas. If the other person is into it, however, pursuant to number 4, then have at it. Take pictures, and for the love of Mike, wear a condom. Honestly, it's a piece of rubber. If I didn't want it to feel good when you did it, I would have added spikes or something.
Okay. Well,
we have a tale to tell.
Yes. We have puzzles here.
Yeah, here's a call in.
We got a call in.
Yeah, it says, the call says, and this is for you guys, are you able to load all the animals of the world on your pirate ship and save them when there's a worldwide flood?
The flying spaghetti monster, pursuant to number 4, says he's never going to hurt anybody, not going to hurt people in mass. He would never do anything like that.
Well, I just want to know, if a flood came along, would your ship be big enough to hold all these?
Our bowl. Or ship. Whatever we put them in would be sufficient.
I have faith that the flying spaghetti monster would give us a whole fleet of ships, as many as it takes.
Or at least turn them all back into sperm and eggs so that they could be transported easily.
True.
Ralph, I'm beginning to think there's something in this. You must have really been inspired there to read Freethought's handwriting there. I certainly couldn't figure it out.
Well, that's all the time I spend praying that help me understand this stuff.
We're about halfway through the show now if we want to do a sponsor break.
So we're coming along in here, and we're
on a roll.
On a roll now. So I think that we're about to the point where at the midpoint of the show here, and we should be able to
Put the sponsors up.
put the sponsors up and tell people
There they are.
what's going on.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a conglomeration of freethinkers and atheists in East Tennessee. We get together once a week down at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria. And the Tuesday after the show, we usually go down there. But please don't come if you're going to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch. And the Rationalists?
Go ahead, Ralph.
Okay, well, we're in Tennessee. That's where the Freethought Forum is written and produced, and shows are most every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m., unless we're preempted by a county commission meeting. We can also be seen streaming online for fans outside the Knoxville area. You can go to ctvknox.org and watch us live there if you can't get us on local cable television.
So, in summary, Freethought Forum is produced by members of the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee, and supported by member contributions.
Okay, now viewers can call in now on the number on the screen, and you can send us feedback by mail at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. Now, what was that about the flying spaghetti monster in Tennessee that we thought we were going to discuss, sir?
Well, me hearties, I'll have to tell you a bit about the history of the flying spaghetti monster in Tennessee. Back in 2008, we Pastafarians witnessed a divinely inspired sight on the grounds of the courthouse of Knoxville, Tennessee. 'Twere a likeness of His Holiness, the flying spaghetti monster, right here in our state.
Wow.
A devoted Pastafarian named Adriel Safdie crafted it from heaven-sent materials. She were sent a holy message from above that Pastafarianism was neglected in the public schools, and that a likeness of his noodliness should be placed on the courthouse lawn along with the Statue of Liberty and Jesus carrying a cross. So we set out to build a statue and place it with the others so that everyone could share in his beautiful image and learn about Pastafarianism. I tell you, mateys, the beauty of this here rendition is worthy of a fellow Michelangelo. Brought tears to me eyes just thinking about all the blessings the flying spaghetti monster has bestowed on mankind, especially on us pirates.
At first, the city commission was reluctant to install it, but then they realized its true spiritual value. They decided to place it next to the Christian cross because America is a land of religious freedom, and they wanted to provide an opportunity for all those in faith which can equally well explain the mysteries of life.
That sounds just like what the founding fathers intended.
Aye, the Jesus worshippers didn't want to share the lawn with the deities other than their own and complained bitterly.
Did they get violent?
Well, here's a couple of one of those messages they left. You could read them for yourself.
I hope no young children are listening. You guys suck. I mean that. Too bad that blasphemous monstrosity you made didn't catch fire, to which another Christian gentleman replied, "It can't catch fire. I kept urinating on it." Oh, wow, how nasty and un-American.
Isn't it, though? Unfortunately, the Cumberland County Commission then decided that they would allow no religious symbols in public property. They had to go. Only because the Christian faith was so weak that its followers couldn't stand the spiritual competition. As a result, Tennesseans today are denied the opportunity to truly experience the love of flying spaghetti monsters noodly touching in the city of Knoxville.
When engaging the Christians in free speech, watch out for Christian love and charity.
Oh, let's see. I like your 8. I'd really rather you didn't, and I think the Campus Crusade for the Flying Spaghetti Monster is doing good work. The visitation of the Flying Spaghetti Monster to Knoxville has moved me. I think I can stand behind the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Pirate in training Ptarmigan, I think we'd be getting a new crew member.
Aye, Captain. This one has seen a light. Lubber, what do you say?
I'm never subscribed to such nonsense. It's ridiculous.
Oh, 'tis a shame. We could have used some nuclear fusion power generation technology on the fallen pedunculated barnacle of the Sargasso Sea. Pirate and Training Ptarmigan, present the pirate Jonas with his sword.
Well, if I had my sword, you could have
Give
this
him
one.
that
No.
one.
Check this out, you ptarmigan.
By accepting this sword of noodly truth, you are now a crew of the good old Pastafarian ship, the fallen pedunculated barnacle of the Sargasso Sea. Say that. Sally forth to spread the word of his noodly goodness.
Aye, aye.
There be a website to the International Talk Like a Pirate Day to help you learn. Here be the proper vocabulary. Ahoy means hello. Avast, stop and give attention. It can be used in a sense of surprise. Whoa, get a load of that, which today means, wow, check it out. Or no way, or get off. Why, yes, I agree most heartily with everything you just said, or did. Aye, aye. I'll get right to it, sir, as soon as my break is over. Ptarmigan, would you carry on? Arr.
Arr. Or just arr. This one is often confused with arg, which is, of course, the sound you make when you sit on a belaying pin. Arr can mean variously, yes, I agree, I'm happy, I'm enjoying this beer. My team is going to win it all. I saw that television show. It sucked.
Arr.
That was a clever remark you or I just made. And those are just a few of the myriad possibilities of R.
Why don't you try it out?
R.
Very good, very good.
Beauty. The best possible pirate address for a woman. Always preceded by me, as in, come here, me beauty. You'll be surprised how effective this is. Blige rat.
Bills.
Or bilge rat.
He's in training.
To think that my father and his father was a pirate. Is the lowest level of this ship. It's loaded with ballast and slimy, reeking water. A
Bilge rat.
then is a rat that lives in the worst place on the ship.
Hey, I notice you guys are not wearing patches. Don't pirates
still got
used to
both my
wear eye
eyes.
patches? Ralph, do you know why that the eye patches, the reason for the eye patches?
I presume because, as he said, they lose their eyes periodically here.
No.
I watched Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, and the one guy was always losing his wooden eyeball there.
Well, I heard something quite different. If you've ever had to get up in the middle of the night and turn on the light, when you turn it off, suddenly you can't see. It's pitch black. And I understand that the seamen, not just pirates, would come up on deck, and then when they had to go back down below deck where there was no light, they were temporarily blinded by the darkness. And so they would put a patch over one eye and have that eye covered, and when they went down, they would flip this up and couldn't see out of this eye, but
Could see
with
out of this,
the
so
other.
they had accommodated the one eye.
Yeah, very clever.
And you guys don't have patches probably because you don't have anything below the deck on this
Well, it's
ship.
daytime. You lubber.
You're making it too confusing. It's just because they look so cool.
Yeah, that was
just
my
not there
other
yet.
thought. That maybe it turned the women on. It was an attraction there.
It does.
A pirate on the shoulder,
Or a parrot.
on the shoulder, an eye patch. I think that's something that would gain a lot of attention walking down the street here. A lot of glances.
Look at Pirate Jack.
Yeah.
Captain
yeah.
Jack.
Oh, so let's see, lubber. Did we do lubber here?
We haven't yet.
Okay.
And the last one, lubber.
Lubber.
This is a seaman's version of land lubber, mangled by typical pirate disregard for
Elocution.
elocution. A lubber is someone who does not go to sea, who stays on the land.
A land lubber. We got another caller? Another question?
Well, yeah, the question is, say, why make fun of Christians with the symbology and the mocking of Christian people here? Now, were we really making fun of Christians, or were we just promoting Pastafarianism?
Well, we're not making fun of Christians. We're making fun of the intelligent design beliefs, the promotion of the idea that just because life is complex, that it had to be created by an invisible, intelligent being that lives forever and cares about it whether we have sex or not. It's patently absurd. Getting out of character here for a minute. Yep. And this absurd routine that we have going on here tends to point out that.
Yeah, that's right. We started off this show. We could have done it in a number of ways in discussing the idea of intelligent design, but it is just so silly that we decided to make a little fun about it. Mm-hmm. And so we're not trying to denigrate religion as a whole, but just those aspects of it which are contrary to science. And
pointing out the fact that we have just as much, Pastafarians, just as much evidence on our side that our invisible deity has started the universe and everything in it as any other invisible deity.
Well, I guess there's another aspect of that question, making fun of Christians. I don't think we're making fun of Christians. It's kind of in the nature of blame the sin, not the sinner. Mm-hmm. And
making fun of the beliefs and the believer.
Yeah. Of course, we hold the position that that faith-based religions, faith-based beliefs in general, mm-hmm. Have no real basis. I mean, right. you can't demonstrate, you can't prove it. And if everyone has their different beliefs based on what they claim is faith, then how can you sort all of this out?
Obviously, if all the religions of the world are believing what their preachers tell them or their holy men tell them based on faith, and some of it's false, then faith can be used to believe falsehoods as well as truth.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the problem with faith. You can't rely on it. Another point I always like to make in the situations like this is that ridiculous beliefs and ideas are by definition worthy of ridicule. And that's what we're doing. We're ridiculing those particular types of ideas.
I think another thing that might be happening is when you're criticized and you take the criticism the wrong way. This is a joke. This is, at least for me, some people really believe it. Very few. But
another
some
version
people,
of it.
Another version. But at the end of the day, it's a polite criticism. It's a little, punch on the arm, and it does have a tone of seriousness to it. And I can understand how someone might misinterpret that as something a little more than criticism, but that's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, the idea here is to make people stand back and look at their beliefs in light of the Pastafarian claims for the spaghetti monster.
Well, true.
And ask themselves, is that really a different myth than the one I believe in, or a different religion than the one I believe? Has a lot of the same things going for it. Mm-hmm. And of all the religions in the world, they all claim to be true. And so only one can be true.
And they all have their own creation story. Every one of them.
If only one at most can be true.
Well, it looks like we're getting some more in.
Okay,
and
so
we have another question coming in.
We got another.
We already got another one.
We got some questions here.
Let me make one more comment before we get to that. I was thinking about the origins of religion and where it kind of went wrong. I think religion began as just a science, an attempt to explain the world, and at that time there was, in the early development, there was an imperfect understanding of the world, and so the explanations were rather simplistic. and I was thinking of another aspect that 1,000 years ago, if a person got sick, then they had an equal chance of getting, or prayer was as effective
50-50.
as the best medical treatment.
Right.
Sometimes
The
better.
placebo effect.
Now,
Yeah.
but over time, the advances in medicine and science have changed and improved that situation. So now medicine can do a pretty good job. But there was no change in prayer. It's as effective now as it was back then. Pretty much not at all.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me is, even though now we have trained doctors and we have some great understanding of biology and medicine, that whenever you're cured, you go into a hospital, they use their expertise on you, the advances in biology, and they cure you. The fundamentalist or the really religious person will say, well, who trained the doctor? Who gave him the intelligence to do it? Who put him in a position to be able to cure you? It always goes back to their deity. It's always his work, not the doctor's work. And so many times after the operation's over, it's always thank God, and they'll always or generally forget to thank the doctor.
Yeah,
And the advances in science.
I think one thing that really upsets me when I read in the paper of people who will not take a sick child for medical treatment because they believe that prayer is the only way to heal them, and the child winds up with a permanent disability
Or
dies.
Yeah, like this.
I mean, I think that's totally unconscionable, and that's something that certain types of religion drill into people, and I think that is one of the most immoral things that a religion can tell a person.
I think there's actually... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add that I believe legislation's being moved to, at least in some states, probably more liberal areas, but...
to hold those people accountable.
Right. This is something that's being worked on now, and
Yeah,
there's a movement. I don't follow it as closely as I probably
it's the
should.
worst type of child abuse that you
Exactly.
can imagine.
So about that girl that was recently died and found out that she simply had diabetes.
Yeah.
And the doctors had just been notified or let know by by the parents, or taken her to the doctor one time. They could have saved her life. She could have had a very good long life.
Yeah.
Guys, I would like to tell the viewers, or perhaps as you can see, we're in a different studio today. The problem in this studio, we have no way to receive phone calls. And so what we're having to do is write the questions down and bring them in here. But next week we'll be back in our little small studio, and we'll be able to take calls on the air. So please, today, please call in with the short question that the screener can write down, and then next week we can take the longer calls.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ralph, you have a question there.
Yes, here's one that came in from a viewer. It says, if you do not believe in God, how do you think you got here?
Well, I got here by my parents, and they got here by their parents.
Right.
Surely the caller understands how it works. We don't have to go into detail.
I would hope. Yes. Of course, the deeper question embedded in this is, how did everything get here?
How
Exactly.
did people get here? How did the planet
Moving
get here?
towards the first cause
And
argument.
I would ask the caller, how does he think his God got here?
Well, he's exempt.
Right, that's the case.
That's called special pleading in logic.
Right, and for the caller's edification, there are three questions involved here. Cosmology, which is how did the universe get here? Abiogenesis is how did life start? And how did life come about from non-life? And most scientists agree that it's a chemical reaction that was able to turn into a self-replicating molecule, and then from then on it evolved. And then evolution, of course, is how we got here, from the smallest, most humble beginnings like that.
Yeah, and I think these questions of exactly what happened to get the universe started or whether it had a beginning. It's not clear that it had a beginning. And the question of abiogenesis, how life actually got started, these are forefront questions in science. And there's been so much progress made on these studies in the last several decades. It's just amazing, mind-boggling. And but if you say, well, you can't really explain it, so it must be God, you're equating God to human ignorance. You're just saying that you don't know, so it has to be something that you can't understand.
And they're not explaining it themselves because there's no explanation for God.
And there's one other little bit, the intellectually honest thing to do. Like, I'm not a cosmologist. I can't explain these things, and I can only follow so far myself. And at the end of that rope, I have to say to myself, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard for me to say. But I'm not going to presuppose an answer or say or tell my friends, family, or strangers. I mean, just yesterday I had a stranger telling me that he knew. And I asked him, how did he know? And in the end, he was honest, and he said, I don't know. But the way it started off, it's not that hard to say, I don't know if you've reached the end. So.
Yeah. But in principle, there's a process by take any question that through study you could verify these results that others have found yourself. But when you start talking about religion and talk about great mysteries and so on, mysteries beyond human understanding, well, there's no path to understanding provided by that kind of argument.
No, I mean, one time people thought diseases were caused by God being angry at human beings, the plague, etc. But we've come so far in just the last 150 years, when science has really exploded, to understanding how nature works, understanding diseases and how to cure them, understanding
mental imbalances,
understanding the keys to life, the structure of DNA, and how inherited characteristics are passed on. What we've learned from science is just absolutely fantastic. And usually the theist just says there, well, God did it. And it doesn't learn anything. To the theist, everything he knows was created at least a couple thousand years ago, it seems. And to the science, things just get created all the time, and it's so exciting and so challenging, and you can learn so much about the world.
You're a physicist, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah. And in terms of this question, as I say, of how we got here, embedded in this is this question of cosmology and how the universe started. And our next book club reading is The Grand Design by Stephen Hawking and Leonard Mlodinow. And Hawking's argument in this book is how a universe can be self-created without need for an outside creator. And I would seriously advise somebody to read it. The book has some ideas that are kind of foreign, not difficult, but it'll take you a while to digest them. But it's worth reading.
And it's worth doing. It is worth understanding. All of the sciences are at our fingertips nowadays. You can go online right now and start anywhere you want to in any of the scientists and work your way on up, or even get just a broad general understanding of science as it lays out. There's no excuse not to. You don't have to go to a university anymore just to get a basic understanding of all the sciences.
And in the past couple of decades, there have been so many popular science books written. These are not trivial books, but they're books designed for the person that does not have a intense mathematical background to try to get them to understand concepts. You might have to go over them a little, study them a little, but for anybody out there who's really interested in how life evolved and how the universe evolved, there are plenty of books.
I like to say that your education didn't end with the last day of school.
I hope not.
You can go back anytime you want to and learn.
I hope not.
Guys, we had a caller who left a comment. He said, if you would open your heart to God, you would be saved. Now, what do you think about this notion? Do you think we need to be saved? Saved from what?
Well,
Exactly.
First of all, why does he assume we haven't? I mean, I was a Christian until I was 22 years old. And growing up in a Christian household, being a Southern Baptist, going to school, going to church and being saved, I opened my heart to God, or what I thought was God. Turns out the feelings were just what normal humans would feel in a congregation of people that are having fun.
I think there's a little us-them. I hope you don't mind me jumping in.
Oh, sure.
A little us-them going on to a degree, because the conversation you're having right now with us, back when I was an active member in church, would have gone slightly differently. It wouldn't have been one person's this conceptual true Christian, this other person's like, I'm falling away from Christ, and that would be you saying, I did open my heart, I just didn't quite get it this time, and the other person would kind of coach you.
It just made less and less sense.
You know, the only difference here is you've gone that full step. I haven't gone to church in about 12 years, and I'm not coming back to church and asking them, hey, I'm having this falling away. I'm rationalizing. I've gone to that. So to say there's a little difficulty in understanding what we're doing, I think most of us have opened our hearts and tried to lead
one
with
time or another.
Yeah, with some type of emotional experience.
Yeah, I think I would say most of the atheists I know were raised in Christian churches. Mm-hmm. They did not grow up in secular families. Now, not everybody did, but
right.
I think most of the people I know at the Rationalists did grow up in religious traditions.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I was kind of thinking about this idea of needing to be saved, and of course in the monotheistic tradition based on the Bible, which includes 3 monotheistic groups, they talk about original sin, and one needs to be saved from original sin. But I would like to throw out this idea that all of us are born atheists as non-believers.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can answer. There's another question coming up. Why do we not believe in God? Maybe we can address that next week.
Sure.
Yeah.
Getting down to the end of the show, the lesson to freethinkers is that Jehovah's promoters, Christians and whatever, want to share the stage with science because it elevates their position. They have science envy.
And the lesson for freethinkers is that Jehovah's promoters want to share the stage with the founders of our nation's democratic republic because doing so elevates their position. They have founder envy.
Now, the lesson from Crossville for freethinkers is that promoters of Jehovah and his Son really can't stand to be lumped in with the flying spaghetti monster or other religions because it reveals their status as no better than that of the flying spaghetti monster.
Right. Thus, do we be out of time? Smartly now, get out your pen and paper.
This has been Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee.
This program has been intelligently designed and certified premium Pastafarian programming and beamed to you from the deck of the good old ship, the Peduncular Barnacle Peduncular Sargasso Sea.
Watch that clock there, Larry. And please to send your feedback at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com.
And our thanks to Sam and Faithless for technical help, to the staff at CTV Knox, and our callers.
With millions of, not thousands of devoted worshipers, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster be widely considered a legitimate religion, even by its opponents, mostly fundamentalist Christians who have accepted that our deity has bigger meatballs than theirs.